welcome everybody to On the Record today. Um, this one is actually really exciting for me because I've been trying to get you in the chair for forever.
Yeah.
But I think this is an episode that most people are probably not going to know much about, right? And getting to really hear people's perspective on life, yes, but just pockets of life that we don't understand or don't have the behind the scenes to is going to be so important for us to really be able to relay. And so I will go ahead and talk about what we do here. So if you've never listened to On the Record before, so what we do here is we analyze songs, albums, and we basically just talk about how we connect to them, right? So have you ever been in the car or you're listening to the radio or you run across the album on now Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you use and you connect to it, right? Or that one album or CD or cassette, no matter what age you are, that you connected to as an adolescent, and it's just something that puts you back in that space and that time, and it helped you get through something. That's what we do here. We talk about it. We talk about how music is therapy. I am a big believer that music is what feelings sound like, right? So today, I'm joined by one of the people that's known me the longest on this earth, my cousin and brother. And he is a wonderful fire captain here in California where we live. And what that experience is like is what we'll kind of dissect today, and how he connects his music to his journey so far. So, welcome to the show. One of the first questions I usually ask my guests is, when did you first start really falling in love with music, or when did that relationship start for you?
Oh man, it started early, super early, and it's funny too because when you said when you're riding a car and you're listening to Spotify and you're listening to Apple Music, I feel that now it's much more easier to connect with music because when you play a song now or you play an album and that album's over,
Yeah.
Apple Music or Spotify, they just pick up and they just start playing songs and you just
For
like,
sure.
oh,
Yeah.
like I forgot about that. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember, you think back, oh, I remember this is what I was doing when it happened.
Yes.
But you remember back in the day, when you wanted to listen to music, you had to reach in the back seat, unzip
Yeah.
the binder, flip it open, and you just like you just trying to keep your eye on the road, and you like,
It's
okay,
so true.
let me press the button, get the CD out, I'm gonna slide it in, and you
Yeah.
rub it on your chest, and then put it in, and then you just
Yep.
you locked in on just that. So and
Yeah.
you're just cruising down the street, and the album is just going, and is you're riding, and you done passed about 3 or 4 exits. You're like, oh, I just checked
yeah.
out for a second.
Exactly.
I don't know how I got here,
Right.
but you just
It
the music
is.
got you. But when you said Spotify and Apple Music, like back then, our connection was that
Yeah,
binder.
it was that
And sometimes
binder.
you had a couple of them.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have the visor,
Yep, you pull it
mount,
down.
you pull the visor down, But I think my connection, to music, it kind of all started riding the backseat of mom's car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
listen, Frankie Beverly,
Yep.
Mays, the Isley Brothers,
Yes.
Luther. Like just the R&B being in the backseat, and it's funny because I'm still connected to that music
Absolutely.
today because it's just locked in from riding a backseat
Yep.
of Uncle Tim or
Yeah.
or Auntie Kathy,
Yes.
and then watching them groove on the holidays and being funny,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, man, this is cool,
Yes.
and to be, about to turn 40, so I'll say 35, years ago,
Yeah.
you still have a connection with that music today, and it's funny when now I turn some music on and all of a sudden I start hearing the chirping from the back seat, like what you guys know about
You're
this? With my kids in the back seat,
Exactly,
they're singing the same songs I used to listen to when I listened to my music with my
Yeah.
mom. Again,
Don't you
it's like
love that?
generational. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And then you go through the phases of, I remember listening to the radio and recording songs
Oh my
off
God.
the radio.
Yes.
Remember that?
On
You
a
know,
cassette,
on a
and you
cassette,
try to play.
play and record, and then you go back later and then you look, and then
Yeah.
And then stepping up to that, you know, Christmas morning, unwrapping your first CD changer with the speakers that you could put
right in different locations. Yeah.
You know, you sitting there like cutting the wires. You know, so you know, it's just like it's so many memories with just the phases of like we were able to deal with so much change of technology.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, we had records.
Yeah.
We had cassettes.
Yes.
We had CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to MP3s.
Yes.
Now it's on our phone. So we've
seen
our
all of
generation
it.
has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
That's wild. I didn't even think about that. Like we've literally seen every stage of music.
Every stage of like, and then now to morph into I got everything
in my phone.
You know,
like
I got everything in my phone
yeah.
for $19.99.
Yes.
I can listen to anything I want. You know, we really didn't have access to that.
No.
But now you just, you know, the kids these days, they don't really get to understand.
Yeah.
You know, what we
waiting in line at Sam Goody for it to open.
You know, yeah.
to get,
you know,
yep.
You know, and then it, you know, you get a warning like, oh yeah, this releases tomorrow, and here's a couple songs that you can listen to before it actually drops.
Yeah.
You know, we had to get up and go to VIP.
Yeah.
We had to go to, you know, Sam Goody. We had to go to Warehouse Music.
Yes.
We had to, you know, so, or, you know, some people, trunk of the car at the barbershop.
Exactly.
You know,
and bootleggers, you know,
the bootlegger,
they coming in the shop.
The bootlegger movies, you know what I mean? You get the movies and the CDs, you know, so, it's been man, it's like, well, I'm trying to think of a good word. It's a journey, and then actually you just call it the culture.
It is.
You know, but,
it very much is the culture, especially for us. Because what I also like to say on this podcast is therapy, not everybody has access to it or goes and does it, but everybody has access to music.
Yeah.
Right? And so for our culture, growing up, that's not, therapy and things like that are not a norm.
No, it's not.
But music is everywhere. Right? And Absolutely. It's in us. Like it's ancestral. It's in us. So it helps us work our way through whatever's going on at that moment where you're super excited. You're getting pumped going to the club. You got a love song going because you're about to get the night right. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's setting the mood for however you feel at that moment.
Yep. It's like for me, you know, you have that song that you listen to before you get out and go to work.
Yes.
You know, it's like you pull up and
you're like, whew.
Let me turn this up real quick. You
yeah.
might lean that seat back a little bit.
Yep.
Close your eyes, bob your head, and it's like, all right, let's go.
We got it. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you got that midday.
You
know, so
need that pick me up.
Get that pick me up, you know. So, yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny because I love that you're like in the backseat of the car because that's what it was for us. And talking through like this new generation, they obviously listen to us as we plug stuff in or put stuff in the CD player, but we had zero choice in the matter of what was being played. None. Right? Yeah. So
you're there for the ride.
Yeah, you're literally there for the ride, and they put on any and everything, which is why I love our generation too, because we were forced to listen to things that we just naturally might not listen to.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can pick whatever they want and stay in that lane if they want to. Right? Like forever. Mm-hmm. Right? We were literally in everything, whatever showed up on the radio that day, whatever CD they put in. Whatever grandma was playing or putting on, right? Like all of that was, we just there for the ride.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that too, because we went to, where were we going? Oh, we were going to my boy Darnell's house on it was New Year's Eve actually. We were driving down to Cerritos to my boy's Darnell's house, and I was sitting in the car. I'm like, you know what? I was like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do music roulette.
Ooh.
I was like, I'm gonna pick a song. Mom's gonna pick a song. Ayana, you gonna pick a song. You pick a song. And we just gonna keep going around, and it was good, you know. And it was funny to see because they were actually playing some older R&B music, but I didn't realize that the backseat was gonna be so ratchet.
You know, you'd be a little surprised. Like, wait a minute.
I looked at my wife. I'm like, what you?
Wait a minute.
It's all, yeah.
We should probably talk later.
You know, we talk about this a little bit. You know, I'm like, so, but it's funny to see their perspective, and their perspective was our perspective.
Right.
So it was like the same thing.
It's a
They
gift.
were able to sing our songs. We were able to sing their songs.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to do that at their age. I didn't really know the words that. You know what I mean? So, but it was definitely interesting. I'm gonna do it a whole lot more just to kind of see their
Yeah.
culture evolve. And it was kind of like the cool thing about it was is they would play a new song, and I would play the sample song.
Oh, yes. Can we talk about
Yeah.
the samples now?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh yeah, you know, this new artist sent me. I'm like, but that's from
That's
when I
all.
was a child.
And I would
Like
play the
that's
sample, and they were like,
right.
"Whoa!"
Yeah.
So we were able
Like
to break down sample. So
right.
they were able to understand that. Now they're like, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually cool because everybody's been doing it. You know, my mom used to do that to me. Like, "Oh, what was the original song?" And I'm like, "What do you mean the
Yeah,
original
I
song?"
don't know.
So you know,
Exactly.
and to see like all of the Teddy Riley
Mm.
songs and like Babyface songs and
Yeah.
all the other songs that rappers and R&B artists were doing when we were younger.
Yeah.
And then now to be able to do that for them was cool. So they could see, you know,
The link.
the link
Yeah.
all the way back.
Because it's so important that they do understand where all these things come from.
Yeah.
Right? I remember speaking to one of my friends the other day, and I was like, we forget that there was actual instruments on songs.
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because there's certain moments where I'm listening to like an older song, and I'm like, is that a violin? Is that a harp? Oh, that's a guitar. Was that a triangle in the back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Like, I don't know if they'll ever know that
Yeah.
anymore.
Luckily, some artists are starting to bring it back.
Right.
You know, you have the Hers, then you have other people who are playing that guitar, and you know what? And I will even say, like, even some of the hip hop songs, you will hear that piano in the background.
Yeah.
You will hear that saxophone every now
Yeah.
and then. Where for a while we were just all digital Pro Tools.
Yes.
Trap. It wasn't really any instruments in it, but
Yeah.
it is coming full circle.
Yeah.
With some of the producers now that are actually starting to throw a little bit of instrument,
Yeah.
back in there instead of it just being all
Auto-generated.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because, man, that's one of the things I think I love the most about our older songs is the instruments in the back. Because it's literally setting up the foundation for the song. And you're like, they used to have whole orchestras in the studio.
I know, crazy, right? And
Right?
a song used to be like 4 minutes. Some of these songs,
Yes.
you get into it and it's going off. It's like, oh
Wait.
man, it's like 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
I'm like, can I get another minute of
Right,
song? Not
a little
5.
bit.
Some of the older songs, boy, you be sweating. You be like, it's time to get off the dance floor.
Right.
There's still 2 minutes left on the song.
Exactly. Or the
You
intro was a minute long, and you're like, when is it going to start?
wait for that beat drop. You just standing there like, all right.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was this long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so some of these songs are just so short now.
They are very short now.
But and all hook.
Yes.
Versus some of the words and some of the bars that we used to back in the day. But yeah, it's definitely a change. But yeah, I feel like it's all starting to kind of come back full circle.
Yeah.
So
It's making that comeback to what it really was. Just like how people are getting back into vinyls and stuff. I'm like, thank goodness.
I know.
Right? Like, because I fell in love with music from my dad because he had tons of vinyls and he played them all the time. And so that's why I started collecting them like many years ago. But for me, it's the scratch. Like hearing the scratch on the vinyl, I'm like, to me, that's like lulling me to sleep. Right? And I think it's such a beautiful thing that people are starting to get back. I saw cassettes the other day being sold in a store. And I said, so who has the player?
Yeah,
Are we selling those again?
yeah, exactly. There's not even an option in the car.
Right.
Anymore,
I was like, where are you going to put it? Like, I'm so
Yeah.
confused. But look, I'm not mad at it. If
I'm
you
not
want
mad
to
at
bring
it
them back, bring them back.
I'm not mad at it either.
Man, I know. So every single time I have my amazing guests on here, I send them an intake just to kind of hear like their background. And you said music is literally a part of your every single day life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I love that because for me, I feel like I would die without it. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I don't know if I could fully function without music playing somewhere at all times.
Yeah.
Because like deafening silence is not it. Maybe I should talk to my therapist about that. But but it's not it for me. Like I needed to set a mood or a vibe. And today you actually chose for your album that you want to talk about was Jeezy's Thug Motivation, and especially 101. Okay, and so for you, why did you choose that record, that album, that song?
Man, 2024 and 2025 was a real challenging couple of years for me. I was trying to get into the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the fire service during that time was high energy. If you weren't at the top end of interviewing and taking writtens and physical shape and
Yeah.
it's something that wasn't going to happen for you. It was very highly competitive. It was, hey, there's 500 applicants for 5 jobs.
Ooh.
And so these people that were testing were from different backgrounds. They had different experiences. They were working here. They were working for private ambulance companies or maybe volunteers and things like that. So it wasn't like what I had was a dime a dozen. Right? So every day you woke up, you had to work out.
Yeah.
Right? To meet the physical restraint, because when you got in the tower, you were going to be working out. Your mind always had to be right. You always had to be high energy. Sir, yes, sir, sir, no, sir. Running around, doing those things, right?
Yeah.
So my life was like pretty hype, you know what I mean? So you needed some music to kind of match.
Yeah, the energy.
That energy and that tempo, and that was some music. The South was, it was moving back then. The South was going up at that time, so, and the movement was so good, everybody wanted to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
As much as I love West Coast music, it was really, really slow at that moment. That was right before the game.
Yeah. Yep.
The documentary came out, and you weren't really getting anything from the West, and the Southern movement was huge. And everybody was a part of it. The Future,
everybody,
the Franchise Boys, Luda, like Lunatics. And, it was just like, everybody wanted to be a part of it.
Yes.
The Southern movement in the South, and the culture that they had going on there, even down in Houston.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yep. You had a lot of stuff going on. That music was a part of my everyday life, but Jeezy actually stuck out the most. I could listen to that album from front to back. It got me through interviews. It got me through tests. It was kind of like the music that a football team listens to like before they hit the field. It's kind of like, if I could put it in reference of how I used to use that album. So on the way to the club, at the club, just anything, and one of my best music times is cooking.
Yeah.
Right? Playing music while cooking.
Yes.
I don't know why I needed to be, turned up to make oatmeal or
sometimes you do got to be turned
some
up.
enchiladas, but it was what it was.
Right.
Cooking and cleaning up.
Exactly.
Music is key, right? And I would say the cleaning up portion is probably, for most Black people, is Saturday mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Growing
every
up,
Saturday
right?
morning. Yep.
You'd be knocked out and the music come on, and be like,
it's like 7, 8 a.m.
It's time.
Here we go.
Start cleaning up.
Yep.
Start straightening up that room. So,
yep.
I honestly believe that is probably the basis of the culture of cooking and cleaning up. But everything else was, I just needed that energy, and the music brought me that energy.
Absolutely.
That was the album. It was other albums that were there, but that one was the one that stood out the most.
Exactly. And even, so what I also love to do on this podcast is give much respect to all of the people who put these albums together, from the producers to the lyricists or songwriters, to like thought partners in the room, because there's so many people in that room to create that song. And Jeezy, he wrote most of these songs on this specific album, right? And I thought that was so dope. He had a few collaborators in there, but he was in there with the words. And sometimes it is those words to get you motivated. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day about GNX. Man at the Garden is everything for me.
Yeah.
Just to get me in the right mindset to go to work. So you even talking about, like, look, I need this right before I get in there and have to mentally and physically be exhausted.
Yeah, it's because it's game on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like lyrical caffeine.
Thank you. Come on, hashtag lyrical caffeine. Like, that's what it is. Literally, we gonna sell those later. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love talking about the entry point for you into the fire department, because it's everybody looks at firemen as heroes, because you are. That's exactly what y'all do every single day, showing up. When people are at their worst or something terrible is happening, you're trying to help fix it, right, or stop it, right? What was that like in the beginning? So you were going in competing against 500 other people trying to get that spot, and obviously you got that spot, right? So what did that feel like when you got over that hurdle, and then once you're in it, what is that reality like for somebody?
Luckily for me, I got put into an Explorer program, as you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
when I was 14 years old. Um, so being able to see it from the outside,
yeah,
as a volunteer before actually, getting paid to do something that I was
yeah,
having fun doing for free.
yeah.
Um, Getting that badge is still to this day I have a hard time like figuring out what to equate it to. It's like winning a championship, right?
Right.
Because there's just it's so much
Yeah,
work that goes into it.
yeah.
Especially back in 2004 when it was highly competitive.
Oof,
I mean,
yeah,
we're running into a situation now where blue collar work is kind of
yeah.
uh, trending down as far as people wanting to get into it because
Right,
there's so many other things to get into. We have a lot of influencers. We have a lot
right,
of
right.
people that are able to work from home. We have so many
Mm-hmm.
business owners now
Yeah,
than we had then. There's just so many avenues that I feel that were opened up post COVID
right.
that people had the time to sit down and look at. So it's not as competitive now as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who've been on for a while can definitely tell you we were working with some World War II veterans,
Oh,
and they weren't
yeah. They weren't
the
playing.
nicest people.
Mm-mm, they weren't
the
playing.
nicest people.
They ain't got no time for
They
that.
weren't playing. It was a whole lot different. So some of the energy
Mm-hmm.
that you had to put in back then was
Yeah.
way tough. These dudes were not easily impressed, and you
Yeah.
really had to play your part and earn your position.
Yeah.
Don't don't speak unless you're spoken to.
Hmm.
You got to stand in that corner and do what you have to do. So to stand out and to stand up
Yeah.
to what we had to do, you really, like I said, you needed that lyrical caffeine
Right.
when you came in the morning because it was you loved it, but you almost dreaded coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, what are they gonna do to me today?
Yeah. What's gonna happen now?
What's gonna happen? So it was like I said, it was like winning a championship. I loved every bit of it. Being exposed to it on the paid side versus the volunteer side
Yeah.
was way different.
Yeah.
I thought that, hey, I've seen everything. I know what to do because I've been exploring for 4 years. But
Right.
when you're in the seat, it is 100% different than, hey, I'm here once a week.
Right.
So the transition was tougher than I expected. And the level of expectation was way higher than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But like I said, even though the guys were tough, they taught you what you needed to do, and
Yeah.
they made sure that you were successful as long as you were willing to put in the work that you needed to put into.
Exactly.
And like I said, and it getting hired by Compton and living in Compton, it was funny. I used to think about it the night before because literally to get from my house to the station was only 2 single
Right. Right.
lights.
Yeah. It was.
Right?
Yeah.
So you literally only had enough time for a 3 minute and 50-second song.
Yeah.
So
Quick.
and that's all
Yeah.
it needed to be it.
Yeah.
So I Southern trap music and just that vibe was
Yes.
it for me.
Yeah.
And when I stepped out of that car, even as I was walking to the door, the lyrics were still
Yes.
going through my head.
Exactly.
And so it was definitely the mixture of music and the willingness not to give up.
Right. Exactly.
Is what got me to where I am.
Exactly.
Right
Speaking of success, I mean, you're a fire captain now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a huge deal, especially because you're now in Pasadena. Big deal transition there, but being a black fire captain there is a whole nother ball game, right? And the trials that you had to go through with these World War II vets set you up to be able to be as great as you are now,
Absolutely.
right? And have that skill and have that eye for what's really needed, what you need to do, how you're working with getting new fire trucks, and you flying to try to make sure that they're getting built right and dealing with budgets and dealing with teams of people now, right? Like the people that used to be you, right? Right. And really being able to manage what that looks like in a new climate because it's a completely different climate now.
Absolutely.
What is that like? What would you say is the difference now for like firefighters who are just starting out now versus back in 2005? What do you see the difference in the not even I would say the caliber, but what's needed now that really wasn't needed back then?
Uh, from a, I would say from a captain standpoint, uh, a little bit more understanding and patience. You know,
Yeah.
there wasn't really much of that
Yeah.
when I first started. Now, now we're more, of course, the term we use like kinder, gentler.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
back when the majority of the fire service was of a certain age.
Yeah.
Right? Getting hired at 19, early 20s was definitely something that didn't happen too often. People tested for a lot longer before they got hired.
Oh. Okay.
Being 19 and getting hired was not, well, yeah, 19 and getting hired was not a norm. Because the competition was so high. They
Right.
wanted to see people that were over 25. What have you done? Do you have a
Yes.
degree? Do you have this?
Yes.
Wasn't really a thing. Now, it's not as competitive. We generally don't have enough people in the application pool
Gotcha.
to sift through like there used to be.
Right.
Right? And I'm not saying that departments are now having to settle,
Right.
but the pool isn't as big. Right?
Yeah.
I would say generationally, how we were brought up
Yeah.
versus how children are brought up now, we have to adapt a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Because with some of the new generation members, you can't be as tough as the guys were on me
Yeah.
as you are now because one, they can't take it.
Yeah.
And then the why.
Right.
Right? The
It's
why
understanding
now.
the why is a big part.
The why is
Yeah.
a big part,
Yeah.
right? So I think as a captain, the emotional intelligence is way more impactful
Yeah.
than it was then. There's no way that you would get away with what you got away with then now. So the patience, the emotional intelligence, the understanding, because I can have a firefighter who, it's funny, there's a firefighter that I was working with a couple months back. He was born in 2003, right? Right?
Okay.
So after 9/11.
Right.
You know, so, and I graduated in 2002.
Right.
Right? So I may have that guy who is 20, and then I can have another firefighter who is 45 years old.
Right.
Right? So now I have to bridge the gap between all.
Yeah.
And it can be very difficult, right?
Of
because
course.
the conversations with the 45-year-old versus the 30-year-old versus the 20-year-old.
Yes.
You have to meet that expectation to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And it can be a whole lot more challenging because there is no one size fits all
Right. There really
portion of
is
leadership. Right?
Ooh,
So
no.
the leadership portion is definitely a little bit more work, I think, now than back in the day. And then what I could say, what I would like to see more now is just sometimes just tougher individuals.
Yeah, like
You
a
know?
little bit more thick skin.
Yeah, a little bit
Get
more.
ready for that.
Get ready for that.
Yeah, because what you do is so challenging enough. Like you gonna have to have a thick skin regardless because of what you see and what you experience.
Yeah.
My question for you, because those aren't the captains that you saw. How did you adapt yourself to be this newer version of a captain now? Because you didn't learn that.
I did it.
Yeah.
Trial and error.
Look, I love the transparency because people don't say that. Like, it's literally trial and error.
It's trial and error. Trial and error, and I have some legit mentors.
Oh, nice.
You know,
Mentorship is everything.
mentorship is
Man.
everything, and my mentors are not allowed to tell me like that was terrible. Why'd you do it that way?
Right.
You know, why didn't you come for? Why didn't you take a second
Right.
and bring that in and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
respond? And I've learned, you know, sometimes you see an email and you
Yeah. Exactly. What I said was right.
and then you sit there and it's delete.
Yeah. Backspace. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, patience, mentorship, uh, trial and error, um, some sleepless nights and some moments where I was just like, man, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, because
You know, I
you
can't
also
believe.
have to be human too.
Yeah,
You're gonna mess up.
yeah, I can't believe I let this person take me there. You know,
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
it just a combination of that and a few leadership books.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely have to stay
Yeah.
on stay on the leadership books. And I will say the last year and a half or so, I haven't been doing my reading like I should, and that's definitely something that I need to get back on because there's a lot of good leadership material out there that can help you get through pretty much anything. But I will say the mentorship. I will get on the phone in a second and be like, "Hey, this happened. What you think?"
Right. I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
and that's almost in any job. When I tell you, I wouldn't survive my career without the mentors that I've had. Like, I already know that's a fact because of me like picking up that phone or throwing an idea past somebody or being like, this is a situation I'm in. What advice do you have
Yeah.
to help me get to this next step, because I don't know, I have no idea. Some people who are younger might not understand that it seems like a weakness. It's not a weakness.
No, it's not.
It's literally a strength to be able to go and ask for help when you don't know something, and if someone is viewing you that way,
Yeah.
check them.
Exactly.
Right. Like, take the help, take the advice, because people who've been through it 200 times, they're going to limit the amount of steps that you have to go to, right? Right? Like, it might have took them 20 steps and they're going to try to cut you to 3.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go through it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just maintain being humble, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when you have those moments of, dang, it was not being humble or ego. You know,
Yeah.
and like I said, the fire service has a legit way of humbling anybody because none of our days are ever the same, and
Right.
the job is so dynamic.
Yeah.
So just being humble and being able to receive, because we all have people, at work who are just like, "Ooh, this dude really test,
Yeah.
test my patience."
Exactly.
And I've actually found myself, if you can find a way to like cage your ego and be humble, you will pick stuff up from the people that you least likely think
Right.
that you will.
That's so true.
And putting all that aside, and it's definitely helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Because even though I've been in a position for coming up on 4.5 years, I'm new.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
And ask questions.
Exactly.
So it is it is what it is. But I do have I would say the mentorship is the best.
Man, mentors, like I said, mentors are everything. And I always tell people too, because outside, my normal day job, I'm in management too. I'm like, management and leadership is a muscle that you literally have to build over and over again and maintain. There is no cookie cutter way to do it. It is legitimately mostly trial and error.
Absolutely.
Understanding how to relate to people, understanding how to talk to people. There is no cookie cutter. And really being able to now, like you talked about, there's a level of empathy that has to be there and understanding. Because I'm not going to lie, I would have loved it when I was not in this position if somebody gave me a little more empathy, right? Like it was a little bit more the tough love aspect or the direct, and I don't really care about your feelings, get it together, we got shit to do, right?
Yeah.
But now being able to kind of talk to all these young, because I mentor so many younger leaders and managers in my current role, and I'm like, look, you're going to mess up.
Oh yeah.
Don't be afraid of it, because that's what people are terrified of.
Absolutely.
Messing up.
And it hinders your decision.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Fall. Fail forward. It's fine. Just don't do it again. Right? Like, the whole point is to learn from the mess up. Right? And it's gonna happen over and over and over and over again. And you gotta be comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, and people are gonna try you.
On your best day.
On your best day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
we're gonna try and get away with certain things, and it's just,
Mm-hmm.
you just gotta step in and give that guidance. And, and I will say, employees will make sure that you have a firm understanding of the policies and procedures, because you
right, because they gon' you see, exactly. Be like, okay, let me go ahead and take a look.
And those times I find me put my beats on.
Yeah, exactly. 1 second, I'm gonna take a quick break.
Yeah, absolutely. I take my midday.
Yeah.
You gotta take that midday and sit down. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I just lay down, close my eyes for a second. But because with the fire department, you just gotta get ready for the night shift. There's no. I'm off at 5.
No. It's all day, all night.
All day,
all night. Yeah. What is that? What's that album or that song going home?
Ooh. It's in the morning, for me, especially for the fire service, the adjustment for being gone for 2 days and going back home is a big part of our reality, right?
Yeah.
You're on. And all, like, I'm not saying like the fire service, like every day is crazy. Oh man, this happened. But the transition from being a certain way for 2 to 3 days, being boss leader, when you do have that call, just locking up emotion.
Yes.
It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Transitioning back to the house can be rough for you, but not only you, your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every firefighter 100% has went home and the household's like, what's going on with you?
Right, yeah.
You coming home with a little abrasive. Are you coming?
Yeah.
What's going on? Can you give us 30 minutes to be prepared for you? And then on the flip side, even for us, sometimes when we get home, it's like, wow, can you give me 30 minutes to adjust to you?
Yeah.
So it's a give and take that I feel that we drop the ball on sometimes, but also our household drops the ball on it for us sometimes. So sometimes I will get on the road and I will probably go 4 miles in silence.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because it's just some stuff running through my head.
Yeah.
Of course, we got that to-do list when we get home.
Mm-hmm.
And certain times we're thinking about this because we have to transition to this. We have to transition to going over grandma's house. We got to transition to going to practice. We got to transition straight to going to a game. A lot of times the car is the transition.
Yeah.
And depending on how far you live away from work, you really don't have a full chance to transition.
Yeah.
Right? You have to force it.
Yeah.
Which generally isn't good.
Right.
And I find different ways when I get home to take the 30. Yeah. But it may be later on in the day.
Yeah.
And I might have already made my wife mad.
Right. Right. In the process.
To get into my transition. So sometimes I listen. Sometimes the first quarter is quiet.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the next 2 quarters is a podcast of transition.
Right.
Of, peace or something like that. And then right before I pull up to the house, or maybe that last quarter, I might listen to Kendrick.
Yeah.
And, just something upbeat. Or it might even be R&B. It just depends on the mode. You know what I mean? So one thing that I do like is when I'm driving home, I'm driving into the sun.
Yeah.
It does kind of...
That makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. Like, it kind of brightens up the day. I got the view of the mountains. And sometimes in the winter when I go home, there's snow all over them. So, and sometimes that affect, what I want to listen to, So, but if I can say something that I've been listening to, I'm a big Summer Walker fan.
Oh.
Right, I'm a big
through. Yes.
So I'm a big Summer Walker fan.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, come through. I'll play that.
Yeah.
With that energy. Sometimes it's it's LMA, her new song. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I think it's probably the Jason Tatum, but
Yeah.
it's a cool little song I'll listen to, and it's funny. I find myself these days because I can easily assess the easily have access to get to the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this too. Sometimes I'll listen to a song, I know it, I don't even know the name of it. I have that
Most
problem
times.
all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, yo, it's a song that
This is
goes
great.
blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. And they're like,
I don't
oh
even
man, I
know who
gotta go to
sings
my
it. I'll
phone.
be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't even know who sings it because
Yeah.
the phone will just play the song.
Yes,
And I can just go
exactly.
back to it, and I don't really need to. So
Yeah.
a lot of times I don't know the name of the songs, but I'll listen to Summer Walker. I'll listen to LMA in the morning. I'll go to Usher Essentials
Yes.
in the morning,
Yep.
or something like that. But it's usually pretty light on the way home.
Yeah.
But occasionally, if I heard somebody talking about a new song at work,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll listen to it. And it's funny, like a vibe song that, and like I said, somebody brought it up at work. And I've heard a Lil Tecca, I've never listened to his music,
Oh yeah.
but he has some real nice vibe music. And on the way home, I was
Yeah.
listening to some of his songs. It was like, but I don't know the name of them.
Right.
I just, you know how you just press a song on Apple Music and it plays the top
All
songs?
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So I just do that. And as I'm listening to the music, I'm also thinking,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. You're kind of zoning
You're kind
out.
of zoning out and zoning
Yeah.
back and zoning out and zoning
Yeah.
back. So that and
In those moments, so funny because I literally I thought I was the only person who was like, I don't know half these songs,
yeah,
but they're so good. Sometimes I'll have to snap out of it and be like, I need to screenshot it really quick or add it to a play, or else I'm gonna lose it because I don't know what it is. Yeah.
And it's funny, Morgan shows me how to use stuff on my phone nowadays. It's funny how when you make fun of our parents about you need to get your tech game up. But
Right.
my daughter's getting my tech game up. So now what I do is every time I do like a song, I save it to a playlist.
Yes.
So I'll just start loading up songs, and occasionally I'll just hit it.
Yes.
And then just let that play. But Apple Music does such a good job now. People are like, oh man, I need you to send me this playlist. I'm like, I just played one song, and the last 45 minutes my phone has been playing. It's been picking
me.
all the songs, and it's not me.
Exactly. Sorry, it's not me.
Yeah,
yes.
It's not me, but
I know. It's because it's such a difference because that come down from the extreme what I'll say is stimulation at work to trying to transition to the house with the family or whatever's about to go on. That has to be like a massive like struggle to meet like in that short time frame and so I'm happy you're talking about that because I think a lot of other people probably have that same experience regardless of what work you're doing is really trying to meet that transition going back to the house and being like, okay, I gotta cook dinner or I gotta do this or I gotta do something, right?
the transition's real.
The transition is real. So the playlists are different. One of the questions I love to ask at the end of every episode is for our listeners who are music junkies just like we are, what advice would you give them, especially listeners who are just new to kind of really figuring out what their music style is? What would you tell them to do to really start kind of getting into?
I would say now I would say the biggest thing is be open. My thing is I only listen to hip hop and R&B, like cut across.
Yes.
Because you will be surprised of what's out there, and it's so great now that it is not label dominant. People can upload their music onto
SoundCloud.
and YouTube.
Yep.
And Spotify. I'm not too sure how easy it is on Apple Music, but there's so many people that you haven't even heard of that are awesome.
Yeah.
That are small right now, but small to us, but big where they live.
Right.
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 So my thing is to be open up your genres, and make sure see what other people are listening to, and create your palette.
Yes.
And you'll be surprised at what's some stuff out there that you would like that you're not exposed to. And there's so many ways to do that on Spotify and Apple where you can just hit so many playlists and just let it play. And if give it. I always say give a song, at least
Yeah.
30 seconds to a
Yeah.
minute,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, skip through it. But start jumping in some of those different genres and start listening to music. Get into the I mean the music that's in the UK
Yeah.
is
It's
great.
amazing. Yeah.
There's so many like Ethiopian and other
Yeah.
artists from
Yep.
Africa and even some of the country music that's
Mm-hmm.
out
Yeah.
now and it's great.
It is so good.
Don't just lock in.
No.
Just get out there.
Exactly. I love what you said. You said explore your palette.
Yeah.
Because when I tell you, when you branch into different genres and understand how incredible these singers and songwriters and artists are across every single group, um, it was it's surprising because we're all talking about the same things, right? Just in different ways.
Just different ways,
right? Just in different ways.
Different beat.
Yeah, a different beat, a different drum,
Yeah.
right? Like all of that is a little bit different, but we're all having the same human experience. So I love that. I hope our listeners took away something really special today. I know you did. Please go to the comments, post, go to the website, talk about a song that helps you in your amped moment, getting to work, leaving work. What is that for you and what is that experience? But thank you so much for being here
No
today.
problem. Thank you for having me.
Yay!
Good talk.
Talk soon.